Hey guys, my name is Donald Trump today. I am with Iron Mike Tyson. Hi.
Hey.
Do you have a favorite moment in WWE and was Part DX?
So yeah, when me and Shawn Michaels and Triple H formed that group, it was hell. I've never had that much fun though.
Why did you bite Holyfield's ear?
He was headbutting me the entire match. He couldn't keep getting away with it. So I got tired of it. So I took a quick bite. He had it coming.
Do you remember you knocked out Chris Jericho, WWE Monday Night Raw, January 11, 2010? You wear two shirts. We took off the first shirt. It showed a DX, and you knocked out him.
I remember that night I knocked him out. I was there with Shawn and Triple H, and we were causing chaos as usual. I got my hands on Jericho, and he hit the canvas. Man, that was a good day.
What is your thoughts when you fight with Jake Paul on Netflix?
Me, the ex-world champ, fighting him, it was embarrassing. But then again, I was paid a pretty penny, so it wasn't a total waste.
What was your childhood?
Growing up in the troubled neighborhood of Brownsville in Brooklyn, I faced bullying, struggled with self-esteem due to speech issues, and became involved in petty crimes, leading to repeated arrests. At age 13, I was placed at the Tryon School for Boys. There I met boxing mentor Bob Stewart, who recognized my potential and introduced me to Cus D'Amato, who became my mentor and surrogate father. With D'Amato's guidance, I found stability, discipline, and rigorous training, transforming me into a promising boxer.
What fight with Donovan Reddick?
That guy was a handful. I mean, he had power. I remember the second fight. It lasted 7 rounds before I knocked him out. But it was a hard-fought battle. He was definitely one of the tougher opponents I've had.
You vs. Frank Bruno. Did you enjoy it?
That fight with Frank Bruno was a great one. I remember him calling me out. It was a huge deal. We had 2 fights, right? I lost the first one, but then came back to beat him in the rematch. It was a roller coaster of emotions, and both fights were intense. The British crowd was on fire, and the second fight ending, brutal.
You vs. Moses Itama. What's that match about?
Me versus Moses Itama, a kid, right? It was a charity event match. He was young and talented, but I had a lot of respect for him. Our fight was short and fast-paced. I knocked him out in the first round, but I made sure to go easy on him. I didn't want to hurt the kid too bad.
What is your reaction? Fight with Floyd Money Mayweather.
Floyd Money Mayweather, that was a different kind of fight. He's a great boxer, but fighting him was intense. It was a close match, and he really made me work for it. But in the end, I came out on top. It's always tough to face a guy like Mayweather, but I've always enjoyed a challenge.
How meet Lucky Haha Spicer?
Kia Spicer, my wife. You know how we met, right? It was back in 2005. We were both attending a celebrity event. She was there as a model, and I was there, well, because I was me. We just started talking, and the chemistry was instant. The rest was history. She's a fantastic woman. Kind, smart, beautiful. I couldn't imagine life without her.
You kids named Mickey, Ramsey, Amir, Miguel, Milan, Morocco, and Exodus.
That's right. I have 6 kids with Lakiha, all with unique names. They're all a handful, but I love them dearly. Parenting is a lot of work, but it's worth it. Each one of my kids has a different personality, and it's fascinating to see how they're growing up.
What your favorite thing with Lucky Has Spicer?
My favorite thing with Lakia, well, besides the love and companionship, it's the banter. She has a sharp wit, and we are always bantering and teasing each other. It makes life interesting and fun. I appreciate her sense of humor and her ability to keep things lighthearted. Plus, she's just a fantastic partner and mother to our kids.
You was in Bedija. You play as Robbie.
Yeah, I was in Medellin, and I played a character named Robbie. It was quite the role, and I really enjoyed playing it. The whole experience of acting was different from my usual ring fights, but it was interesting to explore a different side of entertainment. The movie was set in Colombia, and it was a mix of action, drama, and comedy. I tried to bring some of my personality to the character, but also adapt to the script and the direction I was given.
What the funniest scene with Anwar Tabali?
Oh, there are plenty. But the funniest scene with Anwar Tubali was definitely the one where we were both trying to figure out how to set up a tent for camping. We were both clueless, and it ended up being a hilarious mess that had us both laughing uncontrollably. We kept making mistakes, and it just got funnier with every attempt. Good times.
What the hardest scene was signing up on?
But there was this one scene that gave us both a hard time. It was an emotional scene where we had to portray a difficult argument between our characters. Emotions ran high, and we had to tap into deep places to make it believable. It was intense and taxing, but we pulled it off in the end. Some of the toughest scenes also end up being the most rewarding.
You was in Asphalt City, you play as Chief Burrows.
Yep, I was in Asphalt City, and I had the pleasure of playing the character of Chief Burrows. He was a strong-ledged, tough-as-nails police chief with a no-nonsense attitude. I enjoyed portraying a character with such an authoritative role, and it was a chance to explore a different aspect of my acting abilities. I got to bring in some of my own charisma and energy into the character, making it more believable and compelling to watch on the screen.
With the funniest scene with Ramon Alaman.
Our funniest scene was definitely the one where we were both trying to hide from the police while dressed in ridiculous disguises. We ended up with oversized coats, big hats, and even fake mustaches. We're trying to blend in, but it was so obvious we were both trying way too hard. It was one of those scenes that just had us both cracking up between takes. We couldn't keep a straight face.
With the hardest scene with Ty Sheridan.
The hardest scene with Ty Sheridan was definitely an intense fight sequence. We had to choreograph and perform a complex fight scene, and it required a lot of physicality and coordination. It took a lot of dedication, practice, and precision to make sure it looked authentic on camera. We had to make sure every punch and every move was executed perfectly. It was challenging and exhausting, but we worked hard to get it just right.
He was in Vendetta, you play as Roach.
Yeah. I was in Vendetta playing the character of Roach. He was a tough, no-nonsense gangster with a rough exterior. I had fun portraying a darker, more edgy character and exploring the different dynamics within the criminal underworld. Roach was a bit of a wild card, and it was exciting to bring him to life on screen.
What your thought working with Maddie Nichols?
Working with Maddie Nichols was great. She's a tremendous talent, and we really bounced off each other well. She brought a lot of energy and enthusiasm to the set, and it was infectious. We had a few intense scenes together, and she handled them like a pro. She also had a great sense of humor, so we had plenty of laughs between takes. Overall, it was a pleasure working with her.
What the funniest moment with Dustin Lewis when he played as Dr.
There were many laughs with Dustin Lewis, but one of the funniest moments was a scene where his character, the doctor, was giving me a medical exam. We were doing a scene where he was trying to take my blood pressure, but the prop blood pressure cuff kept malfunctioning and making weird noises. We kept having to improvise and try to stay in character while trying not to crack up from laughter. It was a riot, and it took us a few attempts to get through the scene without breaking composure.
What the hardest with Kaya Coley, play as Nurse Pam.
Working with Kaya Coley, who played Nurse Pam, was a great experience. However, there was one scene that proved to be particularly challenging. It was an emotional scene where my character was having a difficult conversation with hers about a personal matter. Both of us had to bring depth and authenticity to the scene, and it required us to really tap into our emotional ranges. We had long discussions about the characters and their motivations, and we worked closely together to make sure the scene was impactful. It was a tough one, but we were both proud of the final result.
You was in Hamlet Faron. You play as Rick.
Yeah, I was in Hamlet Faroon, and I had the honor of playing the character of Rick. He was a loyal friend and confidant to the prince in the play. It was a significant role, and I had to bring depth and nuance to the character. The play itself was a classic Shakespearean tragedy, and I really enjoyed delving into the complex emotions and dynamics woven into the story. Working on a Shakespearean play was a unique challenge, and I gained a deeper appreciation for the bard's brilliance.
What funny moment with Ramez Amir.
Working with Ramez Amir was a joy, and we had quite a few funny moments together. But one incident that immediately comes to mind is during one of the scene rehearsals. We were in the middle of a serious emotional scene, and suddenly, Ramez, the joker he is, decided to try to make me laugh by mimicking the exaggerated acting style of one of our fellow cast members. He imitated their exaggerated facial expressions and dramatic gestures, and it was so spot on and unexpected that we both burst out laughing uncontrollably.
What the hardest scene with Mohammed Lotfi?
Working with Mohammed Lotfi was fantastic. We had an intense confrontation scene where our characters were in a heated argument. We had to convey a lot of raw emotion and tension accurately, while also maintaining a certain level of believability in our performances. It took us several takes to really capture the right tone and intensity, and we spent a lot of time discussing and refining our approach to make it as impactful as possible.
You was in Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral. You play as Roy.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of working in Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral, playing the character of Roy. It was a fun experience working with Tyler Perry and the rest of the cast. The comedy, drama, and heartfelt moments blended together seamlessly. While it was a lighter project compared to some of my other roles, it allowed me to showcase my comedic timing and chemistry with the cast. It was a great chance to switch gears and explore a different side of my acting abilities.
What the funniest moment with Tyler Perry?
Working with Tyler Perry was filled with laughs, but one moment that stands out is when we were filming a scene that required us to walk down a long hallway. It was a serious scene, but Tyler couldn't help himself and kept making up ridiculous dance moves while walking. He started twirling, gyrating his hips, and busting out some hilarious dance steps. It was so unexpected and absurd, we all burst into laughter. That scene took us ages to film because we just couldn't get through it without cracking up.
What the hardest scene with Sierra Payton?
Working with Sierra Payton on a Medea family funeral was an absolute pleasure, and we had many great moments together. However, one particular scene stood out as being quite challenging. There was an emotional and intense scene where our characters were dealing with a difficult situation. We had to tap into deep emotions and deliver heartfelt moments with conviction. It required both of us to be vulnerable and pour our hearts into our performances. We spent time discussing our characters' backgrounds and motivations to ensure our emotions were authentic and impactful in the scene.
You was in Girls 2, you play as Dragon.
Yeah, I remember Girls 2. I played a character named Dragon, and it was a wild ride. We had a lot of funny moments on set, but one stands out in particular. There was this scene where my character had a hilarious argument with another character, and we had to ad-lib our lines. The crew was in stitches as we just went with the flow and came up with some truly outrageous insults and comebacks. It was a total crack-up moment on set.
What the funniest moment with Fiona Sit and Ning Chang?
Working with Fiona Sit and Ning Chang was a blast, and we had plenty of funny moments together. But there's this one incident that stands out as being particularly hilarious. During a scene, Fiona's character had to climb on a ladder, but somehow the ladder just wouldn't stay upright no matter how hard she tried. She looked so frustrated and kept trying to adjust it, but it just kept flopping over. Ning and I were trying our best to keep a straight face, but we just couldn't hold back our laughter. It was such a ridiculous moment.
Wang, the hardest scene with Louis Liu.
Working with Louis Liu was great, and he's a talented actor. However, there was one scene that stood out as being particularly demanding. It involved a physical fight sequence, which is always a challenge. We had to rehearse and practice the choreography carefully to make sure it looked authentic and safe. We spent hours going over the moves, ensuring every punch and kick was executed flawlessly. It took patience, coordination, and resilience to get the scene just right. It was demanding, but it was also rewarding to see the final product.
You was in Kickboxer Retaliation, you play as Briggs.
I was in Kickboxer Retaliation, and I had the opportunity to portray the character of Briggs. It was an action-packed movie, and I enjoyed getting into the intense action sequences. Playing Briggs allowed me to tap into my physicality and bring a fierce presence to the character. The fights were adrenaline-fueled, and I had to channel that energy into the role's raw power. It was a unique experience and a chance to stretch my abilities as an actor.
What the funniest scene with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Working with Jean-Claude Van Damme was a true honor, and he has a great sense of humor. There was this one scene where we were filming a lighthearted sparring session, and we just couldn't help cracking up between takes. Jean-Claude had a habit of making up puns and jokes during our sparring matches, and it was contagious. We both found ourselves laughing uncontrollably, trying to stay in character, but failing miserably. It was a fun break from the intensity of the fight scenes, and it added a touch of humor to our on-screen interactions.
What the hardest scene with Hafthor Julius Bjornsson?
Working with Hafthor Julius Bjornsson was an experience. He's a formidable presence, and one scene that stands out as being particularly demanding was the fight scene we had together. Given the size difference between our characters, it required careful choreography and coordination. We had to ensure that the fight looked realistic and convincing, while also making sure both of us were safe during the shoot. It took multiple takes and a lot of rehearsing to get the sequence right, but the final result was worth it.
You was in China Salesman, you play as Kaba.
Yeah, I played Kaba in China Salesman, and it was an interesting character to portray. Kaba's a cunning and manipulative character who's driven by his ambitions. The movie itself was intriguing, and it explored the dynamics between different cultures and business deals. It was a unique experience playing a character with such complex motivations, and it allowed me to explore different aspects of my acting abilities.
What your reaction Working with Steven Seagal.
Working with Steven Seagal was an experience, that's for sure. He's an iconic figure in the action movie world, and it was exciting to be on set with him. However, his approach to acting can be unique, to say the least. He definitely has his own style and way of delivering lines, which could be challenging to adapt to. But hey, it's Steven Seagal, and it was certainly an interesting chapter in my acting career.
What the funniest moment with Wang Zijian?
Working with Wang Zijian was a treat, and we had our fair share of funny moments together. There was this one incident where we were filming a scene in a crowded market, and Wang Zijian's character had to chase me through the chaos. As we were running, a vendor accidentally dropped a stack of bowls, creating a loud crash that startled us both. We couldn't help but burst into laughter, trying to maintain professionalism, but failing miserably. It was a hilarious moment that added a touch of levity to the otherwise intense scene.
With the hardest scene with Eric Eboué.
Working with Eric Eboué was an absolute pleasure, and we had some great moments on set together. However, one scene that stood out as particularly challenging was a deeply emotional scene where our characters had a heartfelt conversation. It required us to dig deep and tap into raw emotions. We spent a lot of time discussing the characters' motivations and histories to ensure our performances were authentic and impactful. It was a demanding scene that pushed us both to our limits as actors, but the result was worth the effort.
You was in Back in the Day. You play as Mike.
Yeah, playing Mike in Back in the Day was a blast. It was a fun trip down memory lane, and it brought back some nostalgic vibes. Mike's a relatable character, and I enjoy portraying someone who's trying to figure things out in life, just like many of us have been. The film was entertaining, and it was great to be a part of it.
What your thoughts were with Stephanie Finocchio?
Working with Stephanie Fermentino was a fantastic experience. She's a talented actress with a natural charm, and we had great chemistry on screen. Our scenes together had a nice balance of humor and drama, and Stephanie brought a lot of energy and authenticity to her role. It was a pleasure working alongside her, and we had plenty of laughs between takes. She's a true professional and a joy to collaborate with.
With the funniest scene with Lilo Brancato and William DeMeo.
Working with Lilo Brancato and William DeMeo was a riot, and we had some hilarious moments on set. There was this one scene where our characters were trying to act tough and intimidating, but we just couldn't keep a straight face. We were cracking up between takes, exchanging jokes, and just having a good time. It was a lighthearted moment in the midst of a more serious project, and it definitely loosened the tension on set.
What the hardest scene with Danny Glover?
Acting alongside Danny Glover in our movie In Our Words was a privilege, but one scene stood out as being particularly challenging. It was an emotional and thought-provoking scene that delved into deep themes of hope and resilience. The dialogue was dense and required a great deal of concentration and emotional depth to convey effectively. It was a demanding scene, but working with someone as talented and experienced as Danny Glover made the process smoother and more rewarding.
So you was in Meet the Blacks, you play as James Clown.
In Meet the Blacks, I had the pleasure of playing the character of James Clown. My role was quite eccentric and quirky, and it gave me the opportunity to showcase my comedic timing. The experience was entertaining, and I enjoyed bringing a bit of lightheartedness to the film. However, it was the funniest scene that really stands out in my memory. There was this one scene where my character had to jump out of a cake, wearing clown makeup and causing chaos at a birthday party. It was a silly and outrageous moment that had the entire cast and crew in stitches.
What the reaction? Work with King Batch and Charlie Murphy and Snoop Dogg and George Lopez.
Working on Meet the Blacks was an absolute blast. The whole cast, including King Bach, Charlie Murphy, Snoop Dogg, and George Lopez, brought so much energy and humor to the set. They all have their own distinct personalities and comedic styles, and it was incredible to witness their talents firsthand. I remember there being laughter and jokes nonstop, and it created such a positive and enjoyable atmosphere. Working with these legends was a true honor, and I learned so much from each of them.
What the funniest scene with King Bach and Snoop Dogg?
Oh man, there were so many funny moments on set with King Bach and Snoop Dogg. One that stands out in my memory was this one scene where we were all on a boat together and things started to get a bit wild. King Bach did this hilarious imitation of Snoop Dogg, mimicking his moves and accent to perfection. We all burst out laughing. It was so spot on, and Snoop Dogg himself couldn't stop cracking up either. It was a moment of pure comedic gold that we'll never forget.
What the hardest scene with George Lopez?
Working with George Lopez on Meet the Blacks was a great experience, but there was this one scene that was quite tough. We had this intense argument scene where our characters were butting heads. Lopez had such a powerful presence, and it was a bit intimidating at first. We had to get the tone and intensity just right to make it believable, so we spent a fair bit of time discussing the dynamics and motivations of our characters. In the end, We were both satisfied with the way it turned out, but it was definitely a challenging scene.
You was in Ip Man 3. You play as Frank.
Yeah, I had the privilege of playing the character of Frank in Ip Man 3, and it was an awesome experience. Frank's a tough fighter, and I really enjoyed getting into the intense action scenes and showcasing my martial arts skills on screen. Working alongside the legendary Donnie Yen was an honor, and the whole production was top-notch. It was a thrill to be a part of the Ip Man franchise and bring my own style and intensity to the character.
What the funniest moment with Donnie Yen?
Oh, there are so many funny moments with Donnie Yen. We had a lot of laughs on set, but one that stands out is when we were filming a particularly intense fight scene in Ip Man 3. During a break, one of the crew members accidentally set off a confetti cannon, and the entire set was suddenly filled with a burst of colorful paper. Everyone burst out laughing, including Donnie Yen, as we were all caught off guard by the unexpected festive distraction. It was a lighthearted moment that broke the tension and made the whole set feel like one big family having a great time together.
It's what the hardest scene with Tats Lau.
Working with Tats Lau on Dragon Blade was a fantastic experience, but one scene was particularly challenging. It involved an elaborate fight sequence that required a significant amount of coordination and precision. Tats Lau and I had to choreograph and practice the scene repeatedly to ensure everything looked smooth and fluid. It tested my physical abilities and stamina, but it was immensely rewarding to see it come together in the final production. Tats Lau was a dedicated and skilled partner, and we both put in the effort to make that scene the best it could be.
You was in Champs. You play Ed yourself.
Playing myself in Champ was an interesting experience. It was a documentary that focused on the lives of boxers, including myself. It allowed me to reflect on my own journey in the sport and share my experiences with the audience. Reliving some of the pivotal moments in my boxing career was both challenging and rewarding, as I got to revisit some emotional and transformative moments in my life. It was a unique opportunity to look back on my journey as a boxer and share it with the world.
What the funniest scene with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Working with Arnold Schwarzenegger was always a blast, and there were many funny moments during our collaborations. One that stands out in my mind was this one scene we were filming for a movie, and Arnold had to deliver this dramatic monologue. Between takes, he would crack jokes and make funny faces, completely breaking character. He kept the whole set entertained, and it was tough not to laugh during the serious scenes. Schwarzenegger's comedic timing and personality really shined through, making the whole experience a lot of fun.
What is your favorite boxing match?
That's a tough one, but I'd say my favorite boxing match was the Thriller in Manila between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. It was a historic battle, showcasing the raw intensity, skill, and sheer determination of both fighters. The match had everything: drama, action, and a heart-stopping conclusion. It's a testament to the resilience of both fighters and a truly unforgettable moment in boxing history.
Was you vs Muhammad Ali greatest match in your career?
My match against Muhammad Ali was indeed one of the most significant and memorable moments of my boxing career. It was a truly unique opportunity to step into the ring and face an icon of the sport like Muhammad Ali. The experience was both humbling and electrifying, as I had the chance to test my skills against one of the greatest boxers of all time. While the result of the match didn't go my way, it was an invaluable learning experience and an opportunity for me to challenge myself and grow as a boxer. It's a match that will always hold a special place in my heart and career.
Your first professional fight where you overcame a tough opponent in a back-and-forth battle.
My first professional fight was a memorable one, that's for sure. It was against a tough opponent who pushed me to the limit right from the start. The fight turned into a back-and-forth intense battle, and I had to dig deep into my training and determination to come out victorious. I remember feeling a mix of nerves and excitement as I entered the ring, and every punch and move felt like it meant everything. Despite the challenges, I managed to persevere and ultimately came out on top. A victory that set the tone for my professional boxing career and instilled a sense of confidence in my abilities.
Training in the mountains for a big match, winning a major title, and the sheer.
Training in the mountains for a big match was an incredible experience. Altitude and scenic views provided a unique setting, challenging both physically and mentally. The solitude and focus allowed me to push my limits and really fine-tune my techniques and strategies. Winning a major title was a moment of sheer elation and accomplishment. The hard work, dedication, and countless hours of training had paid off, and the feeling of holding that title was indescribable. The sense of pride and satisfaction was overwhelming, as I knew I had achieved a significant milestone in my career.
Best knockouts, 19851-990.
Of the knockouts I scored during 1985 to 1990, there are a few that stand out as particularly impressive and satisfying. 1. My 32-second knockout of Joe Williams in 1988, marking the fastest victory of my career at the time. 2. My 5th-round knockout of Tyrell Biggs in 1987, showcased my ability to outstrike and dominate a skilled opponent. 3. My 9th-round knockout of David Bay in 1986, demonstrating my power and accuracy in the ring.
You vs. Larry Holmes. What's this match? Great.
The match between Larry Holmes and myself in 1986 was a legendary spectacle and a turning point in both of our careers. It was a highly anticipated showdown between two heavyweight champions, and the atmosphere in the ring was electric. The fight was a testament to our skill, perseverance, and heart as we pushed each other to the limit. It wasn't just a boxing match, it was a battle of wills, and it solidified my place in the boxing history books. It remains a memorable moment for both fans and I.
How did get the name of Iron Mike Tyson?
The nickname Iron Mike Tyson originated from my fighting style and the way I dominated the ring. My opponents compared my strength and resilience to that of iron, unable to withstand my powerful punches and quick movements. It became a symbol of my intimidating presence and unstoppable force in the ring. The name Iron Mike was also a reflection of my relentless determination and ironclad focus, making me a dominant figure in the world of boxing.
What the scariest moments?
During my boxing career, there were a few scary moments that stand out. One of them was when I faced off against Lennox Lewis in a high-pressure fight. He was a formidable opponent, and I had never faced such a skilled and powerful boxer before. The thought of losing was definitely intimidating, and the stakes were high. Another scary moment was when I suffered a defeat early in my career. It was a tough blow to my ego and confidence, and I had to work hard to bounce back. But these challenges ultimately made me stronger, more determined to succeed.
Who did you fear the most?
Throughout my career, there were a few opponents who I respected and feared. One of them was Lennox Lewis, a skilled and powerful boxer who was known for his strong right hand and solid defense. Other boxers I respected and feared included Evander Holyfield, Frank Bruno, and Mike Spinks. Each of these opponents had their own unique styles and strengths, and I knew that facing them would be an intense battle, both mentally and physically.
How many push-ups can...
The number of push-ups I could perform varied throughout my career, depending on my training regimen and fitness level. During my peak boxing years, I was known for my incredible physical conditioning, and I could easily do several hundred push-ups in a single session. It was part of my rigorous training routine, which included intense cardio workouts, strength training, and of course, sparring and boxing matches. I pushed myself to the limit to stay in top physical condition and maintain the stamina and endurance needed for grueling fights.
Do you still like WWE?
Yes, I still enjoy watching WWE. Growing up, I was a huge fan of professional wrestling, and it remains a part of my childhood fascination. Watching these athletes perform acrobatic moves and tell stories in the ring is always entertaining, and the high-energy atmosphere of WWE events is something to experience. It's fun to see how the industry has evolved and how the athletes continue to push the limits of what's possible in the ring.
You vs. Shaq Stevenson. Can you take me back to this match?
The match against Shakur Stevenson was a competitive and high-intensity fight. I was in great shape and focused on utilizing my experience and technique. Shakur displayed his speed and agility, but I countered with my own quick reflexes and strategy. It was a back-and-forth battle, showcasing both of our skills. Ultimately, the match ended in a split-decision victory for Shakur, as he landed more punches and showed a slightly more effective game plan. Despite the result, it was a challenging and enjoyable fight, and I had respect for Shakur's abilities in the ring.
Who is your biggest enemy?
Throughout my boxing career, I've had my fair share of opponents that I considered rivals or adversaries. One of them was Evander Holyfield. We faced each other 3 times, and our fights were intense and highly competitive. Holyfield was a strong and skilled opponent, and we both pushed each other to the limit in the ring. Other boxers I considered rivals were Lennox Lewis and Mike Spinks, as we all had our moments of competing for the heavyweight championship.
What was fastest knockout?
The fastest knockout of my career occurred in 1986 against Marvis Frazier, who I knocked out in only 30 seconds. It was an impressive display of power and precision as I landed a series of quick, powerful jabs that rocked Frazier and ultimately ended the fight in a swift manner.
What is your IQ?
My IQ is reported to be 106, which is above average, but not exceptionally high. IQ measures one facet of intelligence, but doesn't capture the full range of human intellect. Success in life, including boxing, also depends on traits like perseverance, resilience, and interpersonal skills, which IQ doesn't fully measure.
What does your tattoo mean on your face?
The tattoo on my face is a tribal design that was inspired by my heritage and cultural background. It has various meanings and representations, including protection, strength, and resilience. The tattoo features a mix of symbols and lines, which together form a unique design that holds personal significance to me. It's a permanent reminder of my origins and my personal journey, and it has become closely associated with my identity as a boxer and public figure.
What is your reaction? Fight Sen with Tyson Fury.
A fight against Tyson Fury would no doubt be a thrilling and high-stakes match, given his impressive record and fighting style. As a boxer, I respect his achievements and skill in the ring. In terms of my reaction, I would be very interested in the opportunity to face off against him. Such a matchup would likely generate a lot of excitement and attention from fans and media. It would be a test of my abilities and a high-pressure situation, but I would be prepared and motivated to give it my all in the ring.
Was you happy when meeting Evander Holyfield?
Absolutely. Meeting Evander Holyfield was a memorable and special moment for me. He is a highly respected and accomplished boxer, and it was an honor to meet and interact with him. We have faced each other multiple times in the ring, with both of us giving our best performances. Despite the intense competition in the ring, we have also developed a mutual respect and admiration for each other's skills and dedication to the sport. It was a pleasure to connect with him and exchange thoughts and experiences as fellow boxers.
What do you want to say to your friends and family and fans?
To my friends and family, I am grateful for your unwavering support and love. You've been there for me through the ups and downs of my boxing career, and your presence means the world to me. You have encouraged and believed in me, even when the odds seem stacked against me. To my fans, thank you for your unwavering loyalty and passion. Your support has fueled me in the ring and kept me going even through the toughest challenges. I am truly humbled and appreciate the love and energy you bring to every match. Together, we have shared incredible moments, and I am forever grateful for every one of you.
What do you get to regret the most?
Looking back on my career, I have had many amazing experiences and achieved a lot, but there are also a few things I regret. One of them is not taking better care of my finances early in my boxing career. I had the potential to earn and save a significant amount of money, but I made some financial mistakes that had negative consequences. I wish I had been smarter and more responsible with my earnings. But hindsight is 20/20, and I learned from those mistakes and have tried to be more financially wise since then.
What do you want to say to your haters?
To my haters, I say thank you. Thank you for the motivation and inspiration you've given me. Your negativity and doubt have only fueled my determination to succeed. Every setback and criticism you've thrown at me have made me stronger and more focused on my goals. Your hate has pushed me to prove you wrong and to reach even greater heights. So keep hating, keep underestimating me, because I'll keep pushing forward and striving for greatness.
What is your social media?
My social media handles include Instagram, Mike Tyson, Twitter, Mike Tyson, Facebook, Mike Tyson Official, YouTube, The Real Mike Tyson.
What is your favorite video game?
My favorite video game is a classic, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! It's a boxing game that features me as the final boss, and it was released in 1987. The gameplay is challenging and fun, and it holds a special place in my heart.
If you're done with boxing, what is your future plan?
After boxing, I have a range of plans and interests lined up. I am involved in various business ventures, such as the Tyson Ranch, a cannabis and entertainment complex I own. I also host a podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, where I discuss various topics and interview interesting guests. Additionally, I continue to act and make appearances in movies and TV shows.
You as Mike Tyson Mysteries, your ring boxing name.
Mike Tyson Mysteries is an animated series that featured me as the main character, voiced by myself. The show was a comedic take on the mysterious adventures of a boxing detective and his team, which included a ghost, a pigeon, and a kid. Throughout the show, I often used my boxing skills and personality to solve mysteries and fight villains. It was a fun and unique way to explore my persona outside of the boxing ring.
What's the funniest scene with Rachel Ramirez, who plays as Young He Tyson?
In Mike Tyson Mysteries, there were a lot of funny scenes, but one moment that stands out involves Young He, played by Rachel Ramirez. Young He is portrayed as Mike Tyson's daughter, and there's a scene where she's trying to impress her father by attempting to do a handstand. However, she doesn't quite stick the landing and ends up flat on her face. Despite her best efforts, she can't seem to get it right. And the scene is both endearing and hilarious as Young He keeps trying and Mike Tyson encourages her in his own unique way.
What the hardest scene with Jeff Bergman and Snoop Dogg?
Working with Jeff Bergman and Snoop Dogg on Mike Tyson Mysteries was always enjoyable, but there was one particular scene that was quite challenging. It involved the three of us in a chase scene through a hectic marketplace. The banter and comedy between us had to be timed perfectly, and we had to make sure we were all in sync with our lines and movements. The scene involved a lot of improvisation and fast-paced dialogue, which made it both exciting and demanding. Ultimately, With a bit of teamwork and comedic timing, we made it work, and the scene turned out to be one of the funniest in the series.
Thanks for coming. You can say whatever you want.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't like it, well, you better watch out, because I may just show up at your door with my boxing gloves ready to knock you out. But if you do like my content, then I'll give you a big hug. Thanks for being a part of the Tyson Nation.